if the surface of your plaster starts to white, that means that it's curing on the surface, and that's not good for the plaster. So this is a challenge today because we're on the west wall. There's a couple key elements. We cannot have plaster, go on a substrate that is less than rigid. And if you do go on something that's less than rigid, you have to go underneath that mesh. So one thing that is uber important is that you never put plaster on a dry substrate, meaning whatever you're putting plaster on, the wall or the ceiling, the substrate.
That's one of the reasons why we missed then.
That's why we missed the wall before we plaster. This plaster will hold on to the mesh, just like that. I need it to go behind the mesh. So the technique is all about pressure and angle. So it's all with my hand. And so I'm gonna get myself in there and up. And sometimes the straw doesn't want to grab it. So you gotta really get your first layer on there so that it's actually on the bale. This is all called mechanical grip. So these are little teeth. We're pushing the plaster in there so that it's holding on to something. And then after this is on there, after you get a whole section, you can come by and fill in these divots. Now our goal is to actually get out to the plaster stop. So I want this to be somewhat flush. Pretty much. I mean, the whole wall is not flush. It's not going to be flush. This is going to be a wavy wall. The same with around the doors and the windows. I can't have a ledge like this and then we're done. Need it to be almost flush with it all or flush. You'll pretty quickly get your own sort of flow. Okay? So it's like you get a little ball and you're like, okay, how do I do this? How does that go in there? If you take something like this, it doesn't stick.
You just build off of what you started there.
That's right.
Yeah.
So this is our mortar mixer, and so right now we're trying to figure out how much water is going to go in our Discovery clay base coat. So we're doing a clay plaster on the interior of the straw bale. And the way you use this machine is you start with your water. So we start with about half our water to 3/4 of our water, and that's about 5 gallons right here. And then I'm going to add half of my sand. The aggregate needs to be added next, and that's a crucial part, because if you add the clay next, in that water it's going to bind up and get all gooky, and the paddles are going to get bound down by this binder. So you add the aggregate, that mortar mill is going to spin it all around, so when I add my clay, it breaks up those clay particles and binds it to the sand.
put down a layer of discovery, which serves as a primer for the second coat. The discovery coat was composed of clay, water, and sandy gravel, whereas the second coat had some straw added into that same mixture.